right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our March Board of Education meeting. Would everyone please rise for Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I will start the roll call starting from my far left. Mr. Scott Ostrin, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources. Ms. Laura Newman, Associate Superintendent of Business and Operations. Ms. Dana Schultz, Board Trustee. Dr. Bill Hender, Board Vice President. Dr. Jordan Cox, Superintendent. Myself, Steve Hartman, Board President. To my right, Ms. Sue Herman, Board Trustee. Mr. Tim Russo, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment. Ms. Mara Harvey, District Counsel, and Ms. Debbie Verga, District Clerk. With that, again, this is a Board of Education meeting followed by a budget information meeting. Afterwards, I will turn it over to Dr. Cox for the administrative report.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. So as Mr. Hartman had stated, we will start with our administrative report, followed up by board business, and then we will jump into our budget workshop number 1, which will go over to the instructional plan for the 2025-26 school year. So just a quick update on what some of our agenda items are for this evening. We'll have some community updates and an SEL update that Mr. Russo will share with us. We do have a security presentation from Covert Investigations, and I will spend a little time going over what that process was and what it looked like and how it got to this evening. We do have a number of committee updates, and then we will go into board business, and then we will come back for budget workshop number 1. So welcome again to our March 6th board meeting, and at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Russo for a few community updates.
Thank you, Dr. Cox. Good evening, everybody. So just a couple of quick updates we have. First off, we're welcoming back our Discovery Camp this summer. Information registration will go out on Monday, so early next week, so we'll be ready to go with that. So looking forward to being able to bring our students into some of our buildings over the summer and be a part of that Commack community. The next thing that I want to touch on is just, as you know, one of our Board of Education goals this year was to review our social and emotional learning programs and ensure articulation K through 12 and look for ways we can possibly enhance that. So those have been ongoing conversations we've been having throughout the year. It started really in the summer. I want to thank the principals, our staff that helped Dr. Inforna put together a really comprehensive community bulletin that we have on our website, highlighting all the things we do to support social and emotional learning throughout Commack. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, I encourage you to do so. It's on the website, and like I said, it's about 30 pages and really goes through all the different grade bands and what we've been able to do and the programs we've been able to bring in. There's two different ways that we really look at social and emotional learning here in Commack. And the first is through being really intentional and purposeful in designing lesson plans and implementing programs that specifically focus on some of those social and emotional skills that are outlined in that CASEL framework that you see in the lower right-hand side there. So, for instance, take responsible decision-making. At our secondary level, we'll bring in specific programs for our students that talk about social media dangers or drug and alcohol dangers and things like that. So we take some time to do that, and again, that's really purposeful and intentional on our part. At the K-5 level, we brought in the second step program and really kind of implemented it fully this year. I really want to thank again some staff, especially our phys ed teachers, Ms. Riddle, our director of special education, our principals, Pat Friel, our athletic director, who really kind of sat down and unpacked that curriculum for us and figured out the best way to implement it for Commack. We take a lot of pride here in developing a lot of our own programs, or at the very least taking fixed programs and saying, what's the best way to do this for Commack? And they went above and beyond to make sure that we did that, and we have a really great program going now. And we've had a lot of conversations about things we can do even to further enhance that as we look at some of the skills we're hoping that our students can embody. The second thing we've done really well this year, we've started to really do intentionally this year, is really brand our Commack champion and really focus on directing our conversation around learner traits that really speak to social and emotional characteristics, right? Helping our students become more better thinkers, more caring, responsible, things along those lines. And we're excited at having a common K through 12 language about this. As I said, we've really kind of started to roll this out. And one of the things that we're looking to do in terms of an enhancement is look at inventory, all the different programs we have and how they tie in to the different learner profile traits. We'll look to put that together and then kind of create really what we see as what the K2 Commack champion looks like, what the 3-5 Commack champion looks like, our middle school and our high school finally. And that's what we're looking to do as our next step with the Commack champion program. So those are some of the things we do distinctly. Cedar Road School as well is out there, and that program continues to grow, and we're very excited about the ways we've been able to support students. But really the other way we do it is really through embedding SEL throughout our culture. So we'll hear more about this later on this evening as well, but one of the things we talk about is how, when you talk about social and emotional learning, we really want to make sure our students feel connected to school, not just connected to the people in school, but are excited about being here, and they find things they love doing so that they're comfortable being here. So doing things like developing curriculum that supports our students in that matter is something we're really proud of. And there's so much more that we do. I'm going to give credit to Dr. Larson at the middle school as we were having one of our early social emotional learning conversations and talking about the different things we do, but the broader picture, he said at the time that social emotional learning is really just life and learning in Commack schools. And it really kind of has stuck with me at least and with a lot of people that have had these discussions. Pretty much everything we do into how our teachers interact with our students, how we work with our families, every program we bring in has a social and emotional lens. We look at it and say, what can this do to support our students? So, and we see it play out every day. This particular slide shows a lot of the charitable work that our students do, from our youngest students in Toys for Tots to our high school students, whether it's packaging, goods for veterans or collecting winter coats, all these different things we do. Our students have really developed a sense of what can I do to support one another, support our community, and support others. And we're really proud of that. And again, thankful to all the people that make that happen for us. And finally, some of the other stuff we do, I really want to thank the PTA for what they've been able to do in helping us bring in our arts and education program. Again, they work so closely with our principals and our staff to make sure that we're bringing in programs that have a purpose. We're bringing in speakers, assemblies that really are purposeful in looking at how can we address some of these character traits that we want to see our students eventually attain. So really excited about the work we're doing. It'll be ongoing throughout the rest of the year with the principals, directors, their staffs, and we'll continue to kind of look at what we do, and we'll give it another update later on this year and the beginning of next year as to where we are after looking at all of these. So, Dr. Cox.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Flynn and Covert Investigations to come up and get settled in to begin their presentation. But before we get started, I'd like to share a little bit about how we got here. So these have been some ongoing conversations between our PTA community members who have brought up time and time again in some of the meetings the opportunity to bring this to more of a public conversation. We've had Covert Investigations conduct security audits multiple times throughout the district for years. And we've made some significant enhancements, and we shared that in one of our presentations earlier in the year, some of the things that we've done to get to this point where we would start a conversation about armed security. We did put out an RFP, a request for proposal. We received 5 vendors that submitted proposals. There is a rubric that these vendors are graded on, and they were then narrowed down to the 2 top vendors that could potentially fit a Commack armed security model. The Board of Education conducted an executive session where both vendors were able to come in and present to the board, and the board asked outstanding questions, very detailed questions, just about the safety of our children, what the training looks like, et cetera, because in these presentations, there are things that security vendors can share with the board in confidential and executive session that they cannot share in public. Because as part of that model, to prevent worst case scenarios, it's not something, there are certain things that you do not want to be public, but board had an opportunity to hear from both of those vendors. And here we are today. We have to say that Covert, we use the line above and beyond as our baseline here in Commack, and they have certainly demonstrated that they go above and beyond, whether it comes to training or the seriousness that they put into an armed security model. They do provide other resources for us, but at this point in time, I'm going to ask Mr. Flynn and Covert Investigations to conduct their presentation for our public about armed security here in Commack.
Dr. Cox and the board, administration, really appreciate the opportunity and steal some of my thunder, but I just want to echo the process that did take place, because yeah, you surmised it very good. The inquisition in executive session was extremely thorough. You know, and again, you know, what we can answer in exec, obviously, as you said, a lot cannot be in public, but very intense questions, which we relish the opportunity, which gives us, you know, to be able to answer those and delve down deeply and expound upon how serious we do take this. Again, Tom, go forward. So I have up here, and I know the board has seen this before, but for general public who have not, you know, our background is not, we're not a traditional security guard company. We've been in the K-12 realm for almost 22 years now. It's 99% of what we do, so 365 days a year. But in trying to keep the presentation as concise as possible, just want to speak to the point of the, you know, currently in 2025, we are the largest provider of armed security in the pre-K-12 environment on Long Island, and we do take it extremely serious because we know it is a game changer. So with that, several members of the team are here tonight. These are the individuals who are ultimately responsible for the implementation and the oversight of the program. And again, you know, we believe in the philosophy, execute at your level of expertise. So although I oversee the company, I have, you know, I have the people who are actually the experts in specific disciplines who are responsible for the day-to-day operation.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Bob Brown. I am a 40-year, just about 40-year veteran of police and security world. The main part of my career was 35 years spent with the Suffolk County PD. The last 5 of those were as the chief of patrol. I've been working with Covert for a year, a little more than a year now, and my primary roles are liaison to law enforcement, obviously, and to just assist the flow of information back and forth between the districts and the different precincts. And I also have a quality assurance, quality control role, which we'll get into a little bit more a little bit later.
Good evening, everyone. I think I know quite a few people here. So my name is Brian Frank. Started out my professional career in the NYPD. I was there for about 5-6 years, and then I moved over into education. In education, certainly started as a teacher, then a curriculum director, principal, and really one of my main roles in this company is providing the training that is always necessary for security personnel, but also being the liaison for school districts from the company itself. So we know certainly that the culture of a school district is very different than what you may see in other areas. And to try to balance that carryover when we bring former law enforcement into a school district and we explain to them how a school district operates, how we're different, how the process works, we find that it's effective and it really does need to be done. I'm also one of the primary trainers for the company itself and the lead trainer instructor. So, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Danny Colandona. Been a Suffolk County police officer for the last 25 years. Prior to that, I did a short time with the NYPD. Prior to that, I was a U.S. Army paratrooper. Currently in the emergency service unit. What is the emergency service unit? It is a SWAT team, rescue unit, and bomb squad, hazmat team, all rolled into one. I'm a graduate of the FBI SWAT school, New York State SWAT school. I'm a certified bomb technician. I'm also a member of the sniper team. One of the things that the Suffolk County Police Department is responsible for is active shooter response. There's 2 schools of thought with active shooter response. You have laser principles and alert principles. I'm certified to teach both of them. One of the things that we do is 1 active shooter drill approximately a month. The principles and concepts that we have at Covert are very similar to what the Suffolk County Police Department provides the public, and our guards are able to train and actually go inside the building and operate alongside our officers.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tom. I'm an analyst and trainer for Covert. My background is emergency management. I've worked at the local, state, federal levels, both public and private sectors. I'm an FAA drone pilot. I hold instructor credentials from the American Red Cross as well as the Crisis Prevention Institute. My day-to-day is to support the work of the tactical team, scheduling, equipment, procurement. In short, the instructors tell me what it is they need to run the program better, and I go out and get it done for them. I also like AI, artificial intelligence, staying on top of the latest trends, training solutions, how these things can be brought into a district and better protected. Thank you.
So, one of the things that a little bit advantageous is that, you know, we've been blessed to be working with Commack for many years. We just put up here, we're not gonna hit each particular bullet point, but we've seen, unfortunately, in the world of K-12 evolve over a long time. The needs for certain of these things that are up there, and we'll delve down into it a little bit further as we go forward. But I think I know Brian wants to speak to some of the day-to-day operations that happen.
So again, it's really important that when you're working with security personnel, you're working with staff, and you're working with parents even, that they understand the process of what security is all about in a school district. So having a working knowledge of staff and students and the guards themselves and their interaction is important. Ongoing training, not just in Commack, but in other school districts, it's a regular part of it. What makes our training is unique and different is that we strictly focus on K-12. So you may see other security companies that do a general training and whatever it may be. Our syllabus is K-12, and what are some of the things that are going on in a school district. And that evolves over time. What are the hot topics, what are the hot issues that need to be discussed and brought up? We continue to update our syllabus like any good teacher should be doing. You update your syllabus over time as things evolve and change. Otherwise, I guess I'll let you cover technology or...
You know, I just want to jump in at this point in time because we have a blurb up there as far as the, you know, the Commack security staff and the ongoing training. And you know, I gotta give accolades to what's happened in that respect. Good group of people. I can't say enough about Mike Smiles. The district is lucky to have him on board. A very dedicated individual. But in general, the staff has been very receptive over the many years of training. We're in this room, you know, several times a year, as well as the high school auditorium training. So that's what helps. You know, we can talk about technology, we can talk about all these other pieces that happen, but really it comes down to the boots on the ground and the ongoing training. So I think the staff needs to be acknowledged in that respect. Bob, I just want to speak real briefly for the last one.
Yes, I mentioned the liaison role, that last bullet point on there about the 2nd and 4th Precinct Command staff. I mean, that is an advantage for me and for Covert and for you, in that I have relationships with virtually 3 or 4 degrees down in each of the precinct's command staffs. I know every one of the crime section lieutenants, the people who run the detective squads. Some of that's technical, you know, for you folks, but basically anybody who would be investigating something that happens here, I already know who they are and they know me. So that's, I think, very helpful. An example of that was the swatting incidents last year. It was mentioned to me that there was an interest in running what's called a hot wash, basically a review of an incident. I talked to both COs in the 2nd and the 4th. They were on board. That turned out to be, out of attending 2 or 3 dozen of those over the course of my career, that was the best one. Frankly, I think it was because there were no chiefs involved. It was all done at the precinct level, and there were a lot of good points made, a lot of good lessons learned, and all those people who were involved in that have now moved up in the police department, and now so that that good information and learning is spreading.
So this is an awareness training that we put on for our district with armed guard programs. From 30,000 feet, which you're looking at, it's good to live in Suffolk County where you get a good response time from your first responders like Danny, but it's even better to have a building full of hundreds of people who know how to dial 911 effectively and run their first aid care until the professionals can get on scene. Trauma-informed and age-appropriate, just meaning we're not going to talk to your security staff the same way we talk to a 6th grade student.
Okay, so when we talk about behavioral threat assessment, we already talked about this in the district. Certainly, there's always a hope that if you see a child in need or you want to identify that child early or some kind of threat early before it gets to that more serious level. So this is not just about having armed guards, it's not just about security, it's about the bigger picture of trying to provide that support and also the training so that we have an understanding of where we can provide help if help is needed, certainly for students or even staff members.
So I'll just talk up to the left there. One of the things that we bring to the table is, as far as the ongoing training, I think you're going to hear that a lot from each one of us because it is the backbone of what we do, not just as it pertains to the arm piece, but just in general, one of our basic philosophies. So to continue to train and with our personnel and to keep them where they should be, we train multiple times a year, and the federal firearms license that we have enables that to continue to happen at a much higher level, a much higher frequency. And as Tom being in charge of procuring the equipment to make this happen, it's put us at an advantageous position. Bob, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, the rest of that slide is along the right side there. You see a whole bunch of certifications you heard as everyone introduced themselves. Everybody here has at least one of those certifications. All the people that do training in covert work for covert. This is probably the biggest differentiator that sets covert apart. I think it's incredibly important. You know some of it already because we're training your district guards. None of our training is outsourced. Any one of us in this room could go and get a security training course of 8 hours that would allow them to work at a bar or a school for about $100, and you probably wouldn't be there 8 hours. I'll tell you that right now. We take this training thing very seriously, as you've heard. It's a huge part of the company culture, and that's why you see all that information there. We're not bragging, but we're very proud of it.
So I'd like to put this up there because Superintendent had made mention earlier as far as the assessments we've done in Commack over the last number of years. One of the things that I'm very proud of is that when you work with a district and do an assessment for a district, usually after a tragedy is when they're asking. That has not been how Commack has operated. There have been ongoing assessments. The other thing different about Commack and the boards that have been here in the administration, they just haven't taken that assessment and put it in the drawer and said thank you. Very calculating as to how these things have been implemented. You know, credit to Ms. Newman because some of these programs could lead, definitely have fiscal implications. But needless to say, she has been able to over the years stagger them, 1, 3, and 5 year plans to make sure that they have been done. Our philosophy, as I said earlier, we're just not an armed guard or a security guard company. We believe in the multidimensional approach to K-12 security. Brian speaks to the social and emotional and the behavioral threat assessment. It is a huge part of what we do. But it's the same thing as the district, talking about the armed guard program. We don't consider it a panacea. It's just another layer of a multi-layered security, security operation. And very well thought out by the district over a prolonged period of time. Not a knee-jerk reaction by the process that has been taking place. I know the district has been having this conversation for a very long time, and that's to be congratulated because most times we hear this, we'll get a call from the district after a tragedy and say, hey, send me 10, send me 8, and that's not, we won't go down that road. So the district has put themselves in a very advantageous position as far as implementing another layer.
So here at Colbert, we don't believe in the philosophy. You do have some districts in the county that believe in the philosophy. If you're a police officer, bring your gun to work day. We don't subscribe to that theory. We don't believe in it. Shooting and tactics are a perishable skill. They're always evolving, and we always want to get better. So we train. Our standards, we exceed the DCJS, which regulate from New York State what security guards do as far as tactics and weapons proficiency. We exceed that. Our guys train under stress-based training. We want them to be comfortable. Like I told you guys before, we want them to be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's our mission as far as our tactical instructors. Our perimeter patrol, all our weapons are always going to be concealed. No time do we ever want to act like we are in, we are a militarized country. All our weapons are always concealed. Our guards are on the perimeter at all times. They're not out talking to the public. They're in the background and they're watching. They got their head on a swivel, 360 degrees, watching everything, being observant, and a slight omnipresence. You'll see them out there, but their job is not to really engage with the public. We do pop-ins, we do check-ins on them daily. We have our supervisors that go out and they check on these guys daily, make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing, and it's an ongoing process.
Yeah, I'll just on this, again, clearly delineate, and we didn't pick our uniforms based upon Commack. That's, we've been, we've had them, they are sharp looking? No, but we are adamant about not just acting professional, but looking professional. Danny laid it out clearly. Clear delineation of duties and responsibilities between, the Commack security guards here, they have a great reputation with the public. They are those warm, fuzzy, friendly people. The duties and responsibilities of those, as Danny described on the perimeter, completely different. I'm not going to converse with the public about the Mets and the Yankees and the Jets and the Giants. It's not what they're there for. I'm there for a different, as Danny made mention. Just understanding and operating in a pre-K environment. This is something that Danny and I go back a long time ago. When districts first started talking about this. This is just not an armed guard. Again, we understand the environment that we're working in, and personnel, the process, and Bob will go into that in a minute, what that looks like of identifying those individuals who could work in this capacity is pretty intense.
I just wanted to add one other thing too to the board is that our relationship with the police department, they know where we are, they know what our plates are on our vehicles, they're aware of what we're wearing. When in the districts that we already do have, when a 911 call comes out to that district, it's broadcasted to what the security guards are wearing, what their physical descriptions are, so that's going to alleviate any future blue on blue scenarios if that occasion ever arose.
Okay, so a little bit more about that quality control, quality assurance. Dan talked about it a little bit just before. It's about selection. It's about training, as we've mentioned many times already tonight, and it's about inspection. We need to, what we're trying to do out of the stack of resumes, I think it's somewhere in a vicinity of 200 right now. We need to go through those and identify the people, not just individuals who have the background, not just individuals who have, a certain amount of experience, but what did they do while they were engaged in that work? You could, in any line of work, be incredibly active, engaged, enthusiastic, or you could collect your paycheck. We're looking for people who are on the first side of that balance, if you will, because we need to be able to assure you and the community, we need to be able to sleep at night to know that these people are ready to go forward if a tragic incident were to occur and you have active killers or an active killer at one of the school buildings, God forbid. That's a lot to expect from people, so we're very careful in how we select our people. We're going through these resumes trying to find those hard chargers, if you will. And after that, in addition to whatever their experience was, we're adding much more training onto them. Dan mentioned we shoot more often than we're required to by DCJS. We do active shooter drills way more than we're required to, and we talk about this tactic stuff with these individuals all the time. They'll have those who, as they come in, they go through a panel interview with a bunch of different people in every different realm. We have educators, security, and they're all looking for key things to make sure that these folks can be successful in this environment, the pre-K to 12 environment. They'll go through an initial range qualification. I don't know if you want to talk about that, Dan.
So again, the range qualification, we are pretty strict on the range. I've had to fail family members. We don't get retries. We go on a range. We're looking for weapon proficiency. We're looking for weapon manipulation. We're constantly judging them and watching their weapon proficiency. I will tell you, we probably have, right, boss, probably close to a 60% attrition rate on our initial range interviews.
And then that training is followed up by an active shooter drill where people, as Dan mentioned earlier, are put under stress, where we're evaluating their aptitude for this kind of work and their physical capability to do it. I don't know how to put this exactly, but every one of these range qualifications, every time they go to the range, they're with our instructors, as I mentioned before. If we do an active shooter drill, they're with covert personnel who are constantly evaluating, and every single one of those training sessions, 7 or 8 a year, each one is a qualification. If they don't pass, they don't continue working. That may sound harsh, but that's important for for you to know, for the members of the community to know that we take it very, very seriously. And, you know, that's the end of their service as an armed guard. There may be some other role for them with covert or with one of the districts as an inside guard, but they do not continue as an armed guard if they can't pass these evaluations.
So I think the important piece, to take it back to why I have a federal firearms license, we train nonstop. It is a game changer. You know, 7 or 8 years ago when this came to me, you know, I keep using that terminology. So again, you know, I think the message tonight was trying to drive home 2 really important points. The process that the district, the Board of Education, and the administration went through, where we come from, and what the process looks like. Where we, as Danny said and Bob said, we have no favorites. Where it's open, where we're looking for those particular individuals. We certainly want to talk to the Commack security personnel who may be interested in going forward. That being said, it's not like some, you know, a law enforcement around the country where you get an extra 5 points because of. We want everybody, they've got to meet those standards, and we want nothing but to have the best of the best. We treat our people well, we give them the best equipment that to be able to push them to go forward, as Tom mentioned. The last on the bottom up there is that from that point forward, as the superintendent started out by saying, you know, things we can and cannot show. That the board saw some things in exec session as to how the tactical training is actually conducted. You know, so there's some medical pieces and that go along with that because we push the envelope as far as the size of some of these buildings. So it's a pretty intense process that goes forward. These are just some of our partners that we work with, we continue to work with. And just appreciate it. Just want to say thank you for the hard-charging questions that you put us through.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn, and thank you to your team for being here. So I think at this point, if we can switch back to the original presentation, the slide is questions from the Board of Education just regarding armed guard security presentation. I know that you asked a number of, as Mr. Flynn said, hard-charging questions, which they were, because I know that the board has the best interest of our children in their heart and making sure that they're coming to school safe every day. But I'm going to give you an opportunity to certainly ask any questions.
Hi. We already asked all our questions, so I don't have a question, but I do appreciate that you understand that a school is a very different kind of community. And the fact that you have an educational consultant to be the liaison is really important. So it's comforting to know that you understand that, so thank you.
Not so much a question, but just a comment that, you know, this has been a process. And I know Mr. Flynn, Dr. Cox have talked a little bit about that, but just for the public's own edification, this is something that we took tremendously serious, like we do all of our tasks as board members. The interview process was intense. And, you know, it came down to, for me personally, it came down to being able to put my head on the pillow at the end of the night and be comfortable. Obviously, you know, as Covert presented, the amount of training that they do on a consistent basis. And when you talk about the word consistency, something, Mr. Flynn, I don't know if we can mention or not mention, but is just how consistent the guards are in terms of their presence at a building in regards to knowing that building.
So that's certainly a big part of what we strive for. It's one of the reasons that one of the advocates are having to talk about the the Commack security personnel and seeing who amongst that group would want to go forward. In many of our districts where we have this program, we have some that work inside, and a couple of days they'll work outside. It's knowing the inside of that building really like the back of their hand. We understand the need to know the building. We stress the importance of consistency. That being said, is that tactical training that's conducted both in buildings. We will train inside these buildings. We'll be asking you over summer. I know we'll have to work with Frank because I know with custodians will work going a million miles an hour over the summer. But we will be conducting our tactical training inside your buildings and with consistent personnel. Thank you.
So I know that I'm not sure if you can share like who would be in that building when you'd be conducting training, Mr. Flynn, because I think that's important for the community to know if you can share that.
Just us.
Okay, I think that answers the question,
Yeah,
so.
nobody. It shut down. We have some of our security, or Commack security on the perimeter. Our property is completely shut down, so there's no sports, no nothing taking place that's inside the building. Completely, and we do those on holidays, Saturdays, Sundays. I know we had the pleasure of being here on a Sunday morning at 4 a.m. Going back a couple of years ago, of doing it, working with Suffolk County. Danny ran that drill. Bob was involved. So we trained off hours and holidays.
Okay, and on that topic as well, you had spoken a little bit about the armed security being out on the perimeter, the omnipresence. Are you able to speak about, I'm not asking about location, but I'm asking, sometimes the conversation will come up, will they be in the building, outside of the building? Can you speak to that?
They're going to be on the perimeter. And not just because of that, our model has been on the perimeter. As to the reasons exactly why, I won't delve down into. We've heard, we've heard it discussed in either way. I can tell you one of the things that I bring to the company. I'm a student of unfortunately some real dark incidents. And when Danny and I talked about this a real long time ago, we believe and know that this is the best way to operate for a whole host of reasons. And it was brought up by a board member as far as working in the K-12 environment. A lot of that factors in. But we trust our members, and I trust the training, God forbid, to be able to operate. And so yeah, we're only on the perimeter, and that includes, there's no reason to go in. They're not going in there for lunch or meal or whatever it may be, and in bathrooms also.
Thank you so much, Mr. Flynn, that's important. A couple of points that I wanted to bring out that really resonated. Obviously, I saw the presentation in executive session, wasn't sure exactly how much was going to be shared this evening, so I'm obviously save my questions for the end. But I have to say, obviously, Chief of Patrol, the relationships that you have with the Suffolk County Police are so critically important. There's no doubt that we've depended on them in the past to come and be a big part of our enhanced safety here in the school district. I do believe we have the most phenomenal security team on the inside of the buildings. We've actually extended them on the outside of the buildings in patrol cars, et cetera. But I think that the Suffolk County Police does do a phenomenal job. They're in our buildings all the time. I get the texts all the time that they're doing walkthroughs, just checking in on the building. So they're always close. But the reality is that in some cases, they might not be there 2, 3, 4, sometimes more minutes. And time matters, which goes to my next point. Danny, when you had spoken about, the training level, and correct me if I'm wrong, but, one of the things in worst case scenario is that these guards are going to be going in, and the people who will be coming up shortly thereafter, you mentioned Suffolk County Police, who will have, the physical appearance, dress, what they're wearing, et cetera, but knowing that your armed security, and correct me if I'm wrong, that are going in are basically receiving the same exact training that the Suffolk County Police would be showing up with. So it kind of goes hand in hand in terms of there's not a different tactic, and we don't have to get into the tactics, but I think it's important that knowing that the Suffolk County Police and these armed security would be on the same page is important.
Yeah, so like I told you before, the emergency service unit, we're responsible for training patrol and active shooter response. That's our job. And what I bring to covert is basically the same principles. We train them the same exact way because I feel like it's important, because if you have single cars here in this sector, you get one cop on a scene and the armed guards in there, at least they can operate together. They know how to flow through a building together. And to have a guard that knows the building is the most important thing for me. As a father, as a parent, they say the FBI statistic is every 8 seconds during an active shooter, someone's being shot. Now you have a guard outside your building that actually knows the layout of your building. When they're saying he's in the math wing, they know exactly where the math wing is. That's cutting down your response time dramatically.
Okay, good. And Mr. Flynn, back to your point, just about we do have an amazing set of guards inside of our buildings that are not armed, but they have a tremendous amount of experience, and you had said that they could potentially be, that was a big part of what we were looking for, that if we had some of our security that were interested in participating and becoming an armed guard, obviously they got to go through the training and qualify, but if that's something, it's a thank you that you would, the work that we've done with you over the years, that you would consider some of our phenomenal armed security to go through that process if they choose to.
And without a doubt, Dr. Cox, the other piece to that, it's essential as the program rolls out. Although Covert and Commack, they have to operate seamlessly. It's a critical aspect of conducting a response successfully. You've done a lot in your video surveillance platform, your command center and things. So those individuals that will train with us, in response, their response is critical to the safety of those who are going in the building. So we rely on each other.
Thank you so much. And I think another piece that's critically important that you need to know is through this process, we've interviewed different vendors, but I have to share with you the seriousness that you take regarding this conversation is not something to be taken lightly, and the effort that you put into it is commendable. I also think that the staff that you have hired speaks volumes. I think as simple as having somebody who is a former high school or school teacher, administrator, we do know that every profession is different, but to have somebody on your staff that has the ability to bridge the gap between law enforcement and how schools function, because schools can function differently, is so critically important, especially as part of that training. So I want to thank you for that as well, and that sums up my questions for the night.
We're blessed to have Brian. We have other educators. I learned a hard lesson 20-something years ago from a superintendent I worked with when I was coming at cop mentality and writing plans for a district, and he sat me down and said, "Son, so I do know the 22 years later, and execute your level of expertise. We've got the expert in the educational field here."
No, thank you.
I think Dr. Cox stole most of my glory to give on to
See, at
Don.
least it
I
went
mean,
the
I
other
don't know how
way.
much more we can praise Don. And, again, I guess the biggest compliment I think
way
you
I
said
wasn't
is
gonna
the over the past 12 years, the work that we've done. Like this is little in the community. We've taken security, not just this one point. This is another layer, and I thank you because over the years since you and I worked together over the past 12 years, we started day one, which we had like little security, and we built up probably a state-of-the-art system, and you helping us along the way really got us to where we are. So we're really glad to work with you and get it for the community. This is part of our upcoming budget for next year. So this is something we're basically looking forward to working with COVID going forward on this process with you together. So thank you for all that, Don.
No, thank you, and I don't say this lightly because I had this conversation and it's not the same in a lot of places. And I said earlier about the assessment process, the community has embraced, and I keep saying it's unfortunate where we've come in the world, but Commack has rolled with it and been very responsive. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Can you just tell us, most important to me is technology. Just tell us about the technology that you use.
Yeah, I'm going to start, and then I'm going to let Tom and Brian, because we have two cyber experts here. One of the things, again, I've had my background when I left PD, I did a lot, and that's where the name of the company comes from. Covert, I did a lot of covert surveillance going back. Taru was we did a lot of technical stuff. So the video surveillance and access control piece, I call them the toys. I love the toys. They're another layer of where it's evolved at this point in time. I've left it to the experts. And Tom, if you want to talk about the AI piece.
Right. So I love the toys too. I'm a drone pilot myself. As far as the AI training solutions, there are incredible, wonderful things that are being developed by companies out there. Active shooter training, school security training, there are wonderful things coming down the pike, so I love investigating all that stuff, getting on calls, show me how this works, can we get a demo, can I come in and try it? So there are wonderful advances, technological advances that make our guards better every time they train.
I just want to say one piece. The communication part, which is a large part of this technology. We talk about Rave app, we talk about radios, we talk about cell phones, all the different ways in which we're able to get information across to staff members, to certainly children, and certainly to the parents. Having a robust communication system is really the most important part of this. And that's with technology. We have to keep evolving. Technology is getting better. We have to keep moving along with it. And certainly, kudos to Elise, because she's been fantastic working with her regarding technology and focusing on the security aspect of this. So we're never going to stop here. We're just, if something new comes out, we're just going to keep moving forward.
Okay, so if that concludes the questions from the board, to finish up our administrative report, we have a few committee updates. So we're going to start with legislative advocacy. Mr. Hartman?
Sure. So again, kind of rehash over the past year.
Actually, I guess maybe before, I'm sorry, I forgot, you're not students, but, usually when we have students here,
I'm still.
maybe you guys have homework, I don't know, but
Can you ask any questions of Don? Can you answer it? Yeah. I guess, Don, before you leave, just a quick question. Does anyone in the public have any questions for Covert? Because I don't want them to lose the opportunity. But again, we're going to try to, we won't time you, but just try to keep it to a one question regarding, so at least if Don has, I don't want to lose that opportunity. Go ahead.
I have a couple of questions. I don't necessarily expect you to answer them now. My name is Heather Gordon. I have 2 children in the district, a first grader at Northridge and a 7th grader in the middle school. Also on many of the PTAs and council. So what is the cost of the program? What is the impact to the budget? Is a question.
So I will let Mrs. Newman, I know the numbers, but I will let Mrs. Newman
Or is that part of,
answer
is
those.
that part or part 2 of the meeting? Then you want to answer it now?
No, I'm happy to answer the question. We're not going to be reviewing that part of the budget per se, but in the 3-part budget, on the capital piece, there's a little over $1 million for this. Then also in the administration cost, there's approximately $300,000, which is anticipated increased insurance costs.
Okay, thank you. I know, initially we had discussed most likely 1 guard at all of the buildings, possibly 2 at the middle and 2 at the high school. Is that still what the plan is?
Yeah, so the plan was to have 2 guards at the high school, 2 at the middle school, and 1 at the elementary schools. Obviously,
Cedar Road as well?
at Cedar Road as well.
And then what happens with the the security vehicles that we have at the buildings now? Are those used by Covert, or do our guards remain in those buildings outside, or do those guards transition
That's a great question. So
inside?
I will share with you, and then I'll let Don follow up with his staff in terms of vehicles. But we did increase our security presence in all of our elementary schools by adding a patrol car, putting it on the outside, close to the perimeter. They are our security guards. We are not looking to reduce any security guards. They will remain in place. And now I will hand it over to Don to talk about what that will look like, if he can, your guards, their transportation, et cetera.
Yeah, we provide our own vehicles, and as Danny mentioned, that's how we coordinate with both the 2nd and the 4th. Our personnel are in and out of their vehicles, but we're responsible for providing them, which we do.
Are they unmarked vehicles?
They're unmarked vehicles.
And then will the armed guards be linked to the RAVE app that the district currently uses?
Absolutely. They don't have a choice. No, they
So they'll immediately, if God forbid, this is
absolutely.
living
Everyone in every district, we have them mandated to be on it, and they embrace it. It's an unbelievable tool, and Brian and Bob are very in tune with that. So yes, they will have the RAVE app, and there's other apps that they'll have on their phones, as Brian mentioned, as far as communication. But yes, they'll all participate in RAVE.
Also, and we just so you know too, when we do our daily check-ins, we check and make sure that their RAVE app is up and working every day. There's a way on the RAVE app to actually do testing, and we actually, right in front of us, they have to test their RAVE app and make sure that it's functioning properly.
Awesome, thank you. Just one last question, I'm sorry, Steve. With regard to the guards that are assigned to Commack, so I'm assuming that it will be, Tom at Northridge, Joe at Indian Hollow, do they rotate around the buildings so that they're familiar with all of the buildings in case there's an emergency? Like if there was an emergency, would guards leave one location to go to another location?
No. We're not our personnel that are assigned to that particular building, that's what they're assigned. They're not racing from building to building. There are things that we will not talk about, but procedures that we have in place, God forbid. But the response, the lights and siren, that still belongs to the Suffolk County Police Department. Our people will be beholden to that particular building.
And if Joe at Northridge calls in sick, who replaces him? Like, is it somebody, do you have other people that are, backups or subs, if you will, that are familiar with the buildings and everything?
We have a very substantial substitute pool. A lot of our substitutes are actually active Suffolk County, Nassau County, and NYPD. So that's where our active people roll in. And then we have things in place to make sure that they know plan layout. And then there are other tactical pieces that if they don't work there every single day, that they're things that Danny teaches them tactically to be able to respond. But we have a very substantial substitute pool of active personnel.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heather.
Any other questions for Covert?
All right, gentlemen, I'll let
Thank you
you
again.
head home early for your homework.
Right.
Get ready for school. So back to Mr. Hartman.
Thank you.
Update on our Legislative Advocacy Committee.
Thank you,
Coming up.
Dr. Cox. So again, the big culminating event is the Legislative Advocacy Committee will be going up to Albany on Wednesday, March 19th. Again, the students, administration, myself, and other people will be attending and certainly meeting with our legislative groups and other people of the Department of Education. We're looking forward to that upcoming meeting, and we'll report back on the next board meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. And now we're going to ask Ms. Pulliam to give us a quick update on the Technology Steering Committee meeting.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here just to let everyone know that our next meeting for the Technology Steering Committee is going to be on April 2nd. It's going to be in the Commack High School Student Study Center, and it is an in-person meeting with all of the subcommittees getting together to share out all of our findings over the last couple of months. And Dana and I are very excited to see everyone there. Please feel free to stop by, even if you've not been a part of the committee before. We are always looking for new members.
Thank you, Ms. Pulliam. And last but not least, our Multicultural Committee, which is coming up. It's hard to believe it's already March, and in a month we'll be celebrating our Multicultural Committee.
Yeah, so Saturday, April 5th from 12 to 3 at the middle school will be our multicultural festival. Really excited this year. Our students, especially our high school students, have really kind of taken a hold of this and embraced it and are doing some phenomenal things. Tremendous thank you to Ms. Loscano and Ms. DiRienzo for their leadership with this, but really excited. A lot of families have been interested in coming out, and it's been a great event every year and continues to grow. So really looking forward. Please mark your calendars, and we hope to see you on Saturday, April 5th. Thank you.
Mr. Russo, I want to thank you and Ms. DiRienzo because so much of the work has been driven by the students that are part of this committee, and they have really started to share a lot about their own cultures and celebrating their cultures and educating other students about their cultures, and to see them sort of light up in our hallways and actually say that they feel a stronger sense of belonging to the Commack School District because they're able to freely speak about their cultures and educate other students in a very productive way, and then celebrate it as a culminating activity at this festival is to be highlighted. So phenomenal work. So at this point, before we get into our budget workshop number 1, we're going to move towards board business.
Thank you, Dr. Cox. With that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Hender to read the Board of Education statement.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Our board meeting has 2 opportunities for public comment, one where the public can comment on specific agenda items only, and one at the end of the meeting where the public can comment on other school district matters. Please take a white card if you have a question on specific agenda items, and a green card if you have comments during public participation on other school matters. Comments must be no longer than 3 minutes. The district clerk will call each person up by a number. We are monitoring the time and will let speakers know when their time is completed. When called up to the microphone, please state your name and whether you are a district resident. Please only speak to the board directly. The board appreciates the community's feedback. These commentary periods are not time for public debate or for answering specific questions where a direct answer cannot be provided. We will make a note of any questions where the answer is not known and provide a response as soon as possible to the person asking the question. Public comment does not allow for positive or negative statements about a specific employee as it relates to his or her job performance. Any matters related to specific students will not be discussed. The president shall terminate the right of any speaker if they are overly lengthy, repetitive, disruptive, disrespectful to anyone, and/or offensive, as well as if the public becomes unruly and lacks respect for others. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hender. With that, I'll turn it over to the district clerk to do our comments on specific agenda items only.
Again, these are anyone that has a white card can come up and speak. Please state your name. Yep. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Priscilla Warner, and I am a district resident. I had some things that I'd like to share about safety and security as relates to the armed security presentation that we heard tonight. Do I just start?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is Priscilla, and I would like to thank the board for this opportunity to speak. I'd also like to thank Covert Investigations for their thoughtful and comprehensive presentation tonight. The safety of our children is paramount, and I would like to share my gratitude for the exploration of ways to protect the students and staff of Commack. Research shows that armed officers in schools can have negative effects on suspensions, expulsions, absenteeism, and graduation rates. With this in mind, I would like to draw attention to some additional evidence-backed measures of gun violence prevention as recommended by the Everytown Coalition, of which I am a member. Safe schools are built on trusting relationships among students, staff, and administrators. This means continuing to cultivate an affirming academic climate where all members of the school feel comfortable sharing information they have about potentially dangerous situations. It is also important that any individual who may be at risk of acting on a dangerous plan be identified and offered proper support such as trauma-informed crisis intervention before any harm comes to pass. Additional advice offered up by the Sandy Hook Advisory Commission suggests implementing access control measures such as single access points, fencing, or external door locks and interior door locks to enable educators to lock out dangerous individuals. In October, the board presentation included the topic of social emotional learning, and there was a follow-up tonight. This is the foundation of these safety principles, and I applaud the district for working hard to improve and maintain the highest standards of SEL opportunities for our children. I hope as we discuss the budget and the many accomplishments of our students and staff, we continue to make mental health and counseling a priority for the safety of everyone. This information I have provided tonight is from everytownresearch.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Ms. Warner?
Yes.
So I would say a number of items that you have brought up just in terms of security enhancements that you had mentioned. If you do have the time and you want to email me, I'd be more than happy to set up an appointment to sit down with you because we have done a number of security enhancements over the last 10 years, so I can share some of them with you that I am not able to share in public in this setting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you want to leave, if you want to email, I know my email address is right on the website, so feel free to reach out to me, and I'd love to sit down and go over some of the changes that we've done over the years.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Cox. I'd
you're
love
welcome.
to do that. Yes, thank you.
If anyone has another white card, that would be number 3. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Verga. With that, I'll continue on with our agenda. There are no correspondences to be acknowledged for this particular board meeting, so moving on to donations, I need a resolution to accept the following donations as listed. One from Daniel and Stephanie Ginsberg and one from Jack Hannery for his Eagle Scout project. Can I get a motion? Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the February 13th, 2025 Board of Education meeting, as well as the February 27th, 2025 executive session meeting. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Can I get a motion to approve the personnel agenda as listed?
Motion.
Can I get a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Consent agenda item, new business. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented and or amended, numbers 2 through 15? Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. There are no consent agenda items legal. And then items removed for consent agenda, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools. The Board of Education awards the district's Armed Security Guard services to covert investigation for the period of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026, pursuant to the terms of the district's RFP and the proposal submitted by Covert Investigations. Can I get a motion? Can I get any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. I'm going to acknowledge the statement of professional services from Bond, Schoeneck & King for the month ending January 31st, 2025, as well as acknowledge receipt of the January 2025 financial reports as listed below. I'm going to acknowledge receipt of the internal claim auditor's monthly update. I'm going to acknowledge receipt of the Committee on Special Education dates as listed, as well as the dates of the preschool as listed as well. just want to give a pause for a second before I get into the next meetings, because there are actually some important things. So to my left, Dr. Cox is actually getting a big award this month, and he doesn't want to be, but he's actually getting the Scope Administrative Service Award. He was chosen for outstanding service to the Commack schools and will be honored to Scope's 24th annual dinner. The Commack School District dinner will be held on March 24th in Holbrook. Also, Dr. Cox is nominated and recognized for the 2025 Matinacock Boy Scout Excellence in Education Award. That ceremony will be held in September and November. So again, as the district, we're really proud of all the accomplishments that he's done, and this is an acknowledgement of all the great things that he's done and accomplished here. So I know we did send out an acknowledgement out to the community, but I definitely wanted to acknowledge all the hard work that you've done over the past 3 years here and the transformation that you have done. So we're really excited about those.
Can I say a few words?
Absolutely.
Speech.
So I do not like this type of attention, but I will say that I am so humbled to receive these awards. They came as quite a surprise, and I have to say that we would not, and I say we would not be recognized, or I would not be recognized for these awards if it wasn't for our staff. If it wasn't for our staff who are carrying out, the day-to-day, every single day. It's one thing to have a vision, but it's another thing to see administrators, teachers, staff, support staff internalize it, believe in it. Sometimes they say you try to get buy-in, and I look at it more like enrollment, and I want individuals to enroll in what we're doing. And I think that our staff, they see the value in the direction that we're going in, and I just am so grateful to have the staff that we have, because there is absolutely no way we would be able to accomplish the things that we are accomplishing here in Commack if it wasn't for the board's support and if it wasn't for the staff who are in the trenches working with those students every single day. It's one thing for me to be up here, and I'm probably going to be saying this again in a little while when we do our budget presentation, but it's one thing to talk about authentic learning and for students to be able to find meaning in their learning while they're here in Commack, but I'm not the one in the classroom, and the single greatest influence in student learning are the teachers in the classroom. And so I'm just so proud to be a part of Commack. I'm so proud to see some of the positive publicity that Commack is receiving, not only on Long Island, but across the country. And so, Mr. Hartman, thank you so much for the acknowledgement, but I share this award with everyone who works here at Commack, so thank you.
Welcome. All right, so for the upcoming meetings, little tweaks and modifications. So our next meeting for the Commack Union Free School District will hold its budget workshop number 2 on Thursday, the 27th at 7 p.m. at the Hub Administration Center, 480 Clay Pitts Road. However, it is anticipated the board will now make a motion to adjourn into executive session at 6 p.m. and then we'll reconvene for the meeting, which is the budget workshop number 2 as well.
So the meeting's going to start at 6.
6.
It's
So
anticipated that
we're going to go at 7.
exactly.
So next.
Come back to public at 7.
At 7. And again, the budget workshops are public meetings. They're not board meetings. So basically, people know that workshops are not actual official board meetings. So we're not doing any kind of voting.
Not
So
doing board business,
not
but
doing any board
you are,
business, right? And correct. So in addition, we'll hold an audit committee meeting at 6 o'clock on that is April the 3rd here at the Hubs Administration Center, 480 Clay Pitts Road, East Northport, New York. At that time, also again, we'll probably also be going to executive session at 6:30, just to have another executive session meeting at 6:30. And then we will exit executive session and then reconvene at 7 p.m. to hold our informal budget hearing. So that's another one. And then lastly, the Board of Education will hold a regular meeting, budget adoption on Thursday, April 10th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at the Hubs Administration Center. It is anticipated the board will make a motion for the purpose of adjourning to executive session at this time, and the board will reconvene at 8 o'clock for its regular public session meeting.
Good job.
Thank you. A lot of modifications, a lot of stuff. This is our busiest time of year, so yes, and I thank the board, but there's a lot of stuff going on. We want to make sure we're all together working on these different issues. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Vergut for comments on non-specific agenda items.
This would be the green card. If anyone has a green card, that would be green card number 1. Green card number 28.
You got my number.
Okay.
Okay. If there's no public participation at this time, we're going to, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. So now we will start our budget workshop number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. And Mrs. Newman, we all know that this is
Favorite time of year.
The most wonderful time of the year. Mine usually comes with a little bit of warmer weather. But at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Newman. So Mrs. Newman is going to speak a little bit about budget workshop number 1, the numbers. And then we have a couple of presenters to talk about what does the instructional plan look like for 25-26. So Mrs. Newman, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much and welcome. And yes, it is the best part of the year, even though it's still winter, but we're going to get through March very quickly. So good evening, everyone, and tonight, just to kind of go through a little bit about what our process is, although Mr. Hartman, I think, kind of just identified the dates that the board will be getting together for those workshops. We have listed out exactly what we'll be talking about at those different workshops. That certainly will then culminate on April 10th at that board meeting. The Board of Education will formally adopt a budget for the residents to vote upon. Voting day is going to be on Tuesday, May 20th, and that will be at the normal polling places at the high school and middle school. So first thing that we want to talk about is our tax levy. We do operate under tax cap formula. As you can see throughout our history here, we have never exceeded what our tax cap is, and that is certainly going to be true as the budget we present to the Board of Education over these next budget workshops. Our tax cap formula is capped at a 2.29%. And the budget that we will be presenting to the Board of Education would carry that number as well. That figure represents approximately a $3.5 million increase. Overall, our revenue budget would be increasing by $5.9 million. The largest portion of our revenue is our taxes. The next largest portion is our state aid. Right now, the governor has released her budget. We are looking at a budget-to-budget increase of a little over $1.9 million. I always do like to point out, I know that the board is keenly aware of this, but for the public, when Newsday prints their charts, the public will see a different number. And the reason for that is because when the state and the governor release their budget, they readjust the previous year budget. So as a result of that, when we present our budget-to-budget figures, we don't change our numbers. The numbers that we list out are the numbers that the public and the community and the board saw last year. So again, just like to point that out so that everyone is aware of that. We are seeing a slight increase in our tuition-based student program. And then there's a slight increase in our use of money and property. That is basically driven by leased space. The district does have 4 buildings that are no longer utilized as school buildings. They are rented out to outside entities, so therefore we generate revenue from those. I'd also like to point out there's a decrease on our reliance on fund balance and reserves. That has been something that the superintendent and the Board of Education has been steadily decreasing every year. We always like to say that that is a good thing. The less that we have to rely on our savings accounts to fund our programs, the better. So again, we're looking at a budget-to-budget increase of about $5.9 million, and we're also seeing that decrease on that reliance on fund balance, and that is a long-term goal that the superintendent and the Board of Education has embraced. To identify all the fund balance and reserves that we are utilizing in this proposed budget, you will see on the appropriated fund balance, that is where the $250,000 decrease is. We are recommending that we regenerate and reallocate the same reserves that we utilized in this budget cycle for the next budget cycle also. New York State requires that all school districts present their budget in what they refer to as a three-part school budget. And that is a good thing for residents to be able to then compare their school district to any other school district in the state. It gives more uniform information for the public to be better informed as to where their school district is spending their money. There are three categories, the largest of which is the program piece. That is what we will be seeing tonight by our presenters. That is where the overwhelming cost to a school district budget resides. It's what I like to call kind of the classroom walls in. It is your teacher salaries, it is your classroom supplies, it's your textbooks, it is your mental health support, all those items that go into the education, the social emotional learning piece of a school district budget. In Commack, that will represent 72% of our overall budget. So tonight you will be seeing a tremendous amount of where the school district's resources are being spent. The next item is capital or cost of operations, and that's literally what that means. It's the infrastructure of our buildings, of our utilities. It is where all of our bond costs and our capital projects costs reside. And then lastly, our administrative and general management of the school district. That's kind of the corporate piece of any business. That is the portion, and that represents about 11% of Commack's overall budget. Again, to look at the numbers, we will be reviewing tonight the programmatic portion. That carries an almost $3 million increase. Would point out that that figure would have been higher, but we are we have actually 41 seasoned employees who have put in for retirement. So from a budgetary standpoint, that is a positive reliance on the budget in that it's less money for the school district to have. However, we also have to recognize that with an exodus of those seasoned veteran teachers, support staff, custodial staff, maintenance staff, we're also going to be losing quite a bit of talent and skill along with that. Next piece of the budget would be the capital portion. That increase, just would like to point out, we saw a presentation tonight regarding our security. The increase to the budget, it will be on that line, so that accounts for that piece of it. The other portion is we are budgeting for what would be the final phase of the bond borrowing, of about $1.6 million. Depending on the speed that SED approves projects, we may need to borrow some of that money in the next fiscal year. So that funding is accounted for. And then finally, the 11% of the administration and general management represents about a $500,000 increase. Overall, the budget-to-budget increase is a 2.62%. The tax levy would be a 2.29% increase, and that recommendation would be at our tax cap. And with that, I'd like to hand over the controls so that the board and certainly the public can see all of the programs and services that are happening inside of our school buildings.
Thank you, Mrs. Newman. So now moving on to some of our 25-26 instructional highlights. So Mrs. Newman shared the numbers and some of the increases, and these are some of the results. There are a combination of things that we are maintaining our budget or things that are in our budget, which becomes a challenge as the governor is decreasing the amount of state aid that we get year over year. The percentage seems to be going down. But we're still able to not only maintain our programs, but in some cases enhance it. We do have a little combo presentation tonight, so I'm going to start us off, and then I have Dr. Larson and Mrs. Lippenholtz who are going to speak a little bit about some of our, you can see in the picture right here, even Mrs. Santarello was clapping in the background in that video. She was so excited that they were coming up. The timing is everything. But so they're going to be highlighting some of our middle school and high school programs and some of the enhancements there. You see in newspaper, there's in the newspaper, you read about some of these districts, buildings are opening, they're closing, they're reducing staffing. You're going to see in tonight's presentation that not only this year we've been able to do some pretty amazing things, we've been able to pilot things, but we've also been able to sort of spread that pilot out to make it reach even more students. So first we're going to start off with a vision, right? A shared vision. So when we talk about transforming, we are transforming what a traditional education looks like. So for those of you that graduated from high school years ago, I can share with you that everybody seems to visit Commack High School now, or even some of our elementary schools, are all saying that they wish they could go back to school. We're creating these authentic learning experiences. I say, like, our children come into our system, and they come in, and because you have probably Legos all over your living room, that they're learning through exploration and discovery, and they're building, and they're asking tons of questions. And we really want to empower that. We want to cultivate that. We don't want, for years, education has been sort of this industrial model where students have regurgitated what they learn, rather than taking the approach where there's a time for skill and drill, there's a time for that lecture piece, but it has to be balanced with being able to apply that in real life situations. And that is how we do it. We apply their knowledge to real world experiences. And you will see with some of our exit criteria, which we have shared time and time again, that our students are graduating not only, we know financially fluent, which we'll talk a little bit about, but also ready to make the best decision for what they want to do when they graduate from our schools. So you'll see here that when that last box talks about preparing students to make the best decision, I'm going to keep saying it, because when I keep saying it, we keep thinking about it, and we keep thinking about that 17, 18-year-old that has to make a decision on what they want to do with their life at 17. Now, most of us look back, let's think back to when we were 17. I know it feels like a blip on the map, right? But for some of us, it may be, and I won't say, I won't do it in decades, but it's been some time, right? But it feels like just yesterday. And remember that just yesterday when you were 17, you were like, what either college are you going to go to, or if you were going to start a career, what are you going to do the rest of your life? Well, I hope the rest of your life, there's a lot of it after 17, 18 years old. So to make that decision, it's an impossible task. So how do we do a better job at preparing students to make that decision? I got to say, the administrators, the staff, the conversations they've had, the career exploration, tapping into students' interests, finding out what they're interested in. Because if you have interest and we can turn those into career interests, imagine if you could do what you want for a living and it's something that you're interested in. I'm fortunate. I love what I do, and and this is what I get to do when I get to call it work. You know what the best part about it is? And there's not too many jobs where you can say that. We're changing children's lives. All right, we're changing children's lives together. Parents, our community, our teachers, our staff, our administrators, our board. We are literally changing children's lives. And I feel like half the time, and Mrs. Lippenholtz can back me up on this at the high school, that a student will stop us in the hallway, we'll have a conversation with them, and we ask a lot of questions, these poor kids. We ask, what made you choose that class? What do you want to do after high school? How did you decide that? And when we hear the stories based off of programs that this community has supported and the board has supported, change the trajectory of a student's life, and you watch their eyes light up with passion about what they want to do after high school, now that is the most rewarding feeling an educator can have, at least me. Now, you will see on this slide, this is our educational continuum. Mr. Russo did a phenomenal job talking about some of our learner profile quotes. You will see traits. You will see them up there. The inquirers, principled, balanced, clearly, I need glasses now. Communicate, so I'm going to walk closer to it. Communicators, thinkers, knowledgeable, open-minded, caring, risk-takers, reflective. I have these 10 memorized, but they're getting a little blurry in the last couple of years. So let me share with you one of the things, when we talk about social emotional learning, right? We talk about, we do it through literature, right? We talk about kindness. I think there's so much. If you have a chance to look at our social emotional experience pamphlet that we have on our district website, please print it. There's even a student on there with a video talking about their experience. But I'm going to share with you that, and I'm sure many of you can agree, the experiences that you have in your life, don't they shape you as a person? right? Don't they shape you as a person? I think about all those baseball games I lost where I really wanted to maybe throw the helmet or the bat and I didn't. There's lessons there. You know, you learn about adversity, you learn about disappointment. We can be very intentional. Our children are with us for 13 years, typically 13 years in our school system. It should not just be about checking boxes. Indian Hollow, Brian, I won't leave you out, and Jessica, I won't leave you out, Rolling Hills, but you know, in a K-2 building, it's I'm finished. In a 3, 4, 5 building, am I finished? It's just like checking, okay, I finished with that school, I'm moving on to the next. Now I'm in middle school. I finished middle school, now I move on to high school, and it starts new. And every you know, the end of 2nd grade, beginning of 3rd, new year. The end of 5th grade, beginning of 6th grade, it's a new start. They're with us for 13 years. It shouldn't be a dress rehearsal. It shouldn't be just checking boxes. It should be an experience. And I'm going to point out, and I'm going to give a lot of credit to Dr. Larson and his team. He brought in 2 brand new electives, probably stealing your thunder when you talk about electives.
Stop that.
So I'm going to shorten mine, so because we know yours is going to be long. No. So Dr. Larson brought in 2 electives, one of which a student is sports management, another one is mock trial. These electives line up with our pathways at our high school. We have pathways at our high school, School of Business, all right, I'm going to stop, Dr. Larson. So we have students now in sports management that we got to teach and observe some of these classes, and you hear the students say, okay, what classes like this are at the high school so I can continue what I'm doing here, because I think I love business, I'm interested in it, but what are the classes? They are now connecting what they're learning in the middle school to high school. They're bridging the gap themselves based off of programs, based off of language, and so they're doing a phenomenal job. 13 years is a long, long time to not be an experience, and we want your children to have an experience. So here are some of the things. Some of that were continuing traditions, but in some cases we're enhancing. Obviously, small class sizes in our elementary is something that we're very proud of. Expanded career pathways, engaging at clubs and events, high school schools concept. Ms. Liebenholtz, I won't steal your thunder because I know you're going to talk about that in a little bit. I did talk about the learner profile branding, but here's where I'm going to get a little bit more specific. We are going to be very intentional. Some of the planning that we're going to be doing in the next couple months and over the summer with our staff is going to be very intentional. So if you have those learner profile traits right here, what are activities that we can put our students in that will help shape them as a human being to develop those learner profile traits? So maybe it's as simple, and our teachers are doing this right now. So whether it's writing letters to the veterans, clearly that's caring, right? So we can create authentic learning experiences, activities that our students can engage in. Maybe at the high school it's going to a soup kitchen. You know, there's a lot of different activities that students can go to where they're going to shape themselves as human beings, and they will start to embrace those learner profile traits. If you embrace those 10 learner profile traits, then we are graduating some really, really good children. And I'm not saying that the children we're graduating are not great children. They're amazing. You walk through the hallways of that high school, and they are the sweetest, most kind students I've ever met. They don't just say hello. They ask how your weekend is. They notice when you get a haircut. It's unbelievable. It's a special place, Commack. But I do believe that, for example, we have the ability to create in K-2 a set of experiences to help shape children and embrace those learner profile traits. I believe that there are activities taking place right now in our intermediate that we can assign to those learner profile traits and surface it and talk about it. And maybe some of our staff have some new ideas. What other activities could we think of to help students shape themselves so they embrace those learner profile traits? Same thing with the middle school and the high school. So we're really looking forward to that work because, again, it goes back to social emotional learning. It goes back to the students' experiences shaping who they are and putting them in that environment. Financial fluency. You've heard us talk about financial literacy. Financial fluency is a step so much further that we've created this year. And when you talk about financial literacy, those are things that you can teach in a classroom. You can teach a student about credit card debt, interest, loans, mortgages, checking, savings accounts. You can teach that in a classroom, and we do. But for them to then go and apply it in a real-life setting like our Bloomberg Finance Lab, to the point where our students were given a mock Okay, we didn't give students $10,000. We gave them a simulated $10,000 to invest and create a portfolio. And boy, did they learn about risk. Because they came in the next day and they saw that their stocks took a serious hit. And $10,000 turned into barely $1,000. And then it's, wow, where do I go from here? Students are understanding risk. They're understanding how to build a portfolio. I'm sorry, parents, but your students might be asking you to download Robinhood, or they might be looking to invest now in retirement at 17 years old. That's a positive thing. So when you get to that level, it's beyond financial literacy. It's financial fluency. College courses, accredited college level courses. Let's talk a little bit about our college level courses, folks. We've always mentioned the percentage of students that take college level courses. You know, we used to show 21, 20 because when you looked at one or more college level courses, in some cases we probably should still show it. It's in the 70s. We're in the 90s. 96% of our students take one or more college level courses. 84% take 3 or more, and 77, more than 3/4 of our graduating seniors this year are taking college level courses. But let me draw your attention to the right side of this slide, because we also look at how do we create access to college level courses for every single one of our students in our high school. Not just the general ed students, but our students with IEPs, our special education students. And you will see that last year I started to track this, and you will see in 2024 last year we graduated 19% of our students with IEPs graduated and took 5 or more college level courses, 19%. At the end of this year, we are going from 19% to 24%. That's an incredible, incredible increase. Now, I will share with you that many of those students are ICT students, resource room students, but do you know that our 15-1 class at the high school is also included in that? And there's somewhere between 12 or 13 students who have taken college level courses. One of our students in the special class has taken 3 college level courses. Now, there are also in those classes, those special classes, many of our students spend half the day at Wilson Tech participating in a technical trade. We do have the School of Vocational and Technical Studies at our high school. So students, over 100 students, so close to 100 students participate in those programs, where for half the AM or half the PM, they go to Wilson Tech. Many of our students in these special classes are attending those. So they don't have the room to fit as many electives as some of the other students. But the fact that that number represents all of our students, is something that you should be proud of, and something that we are proud of. Elementary program, things that we're going to maintain. Obviously, professional growth, our administrators, our staff, look at the excitement in the top left. That's what our professional growth looks like. They're having fun. Movement in the arts, MITA, that's something that we're going to keep. Enrichment for all at the intermediate, something that we're going to maintain. The things that I did not mention, we do have lunch and learn in our 3 through 5, but we did not have lunch and learn this year in our primary. We did not have tower gardens. We did not have the agricultural education that we have. We have a high school teacher that runs the greenhouse that comes down and teaches our intermediate schools about agriculture, then takes them to a farm that we own. Yes, a farm that we own, Marion Carl Farm, that we brought back to life, where they're planting lettuce, bok choy, celery, cabbage definitely, because we have a student that has grown the largest cabbage in New York State and won $1,000. The cabbage was literally bigger than him. It was 15 pounds? 18 pounds. I was way off. 18 pounds. We are so excited because these were pilot programs. We piloted the Discovery Den at Northridge. We piloted agricultural education. We piloted Lunch and Learn this year. Next year, we will be looking to expand Discovery Den across all 4 primary schools. Lunch and Learn will remain in place. We're going to do some work with our agricultural education to find out where is the best spot for our intermediate schools to go and visit the farm. You can see Ryan McGrath in one of those pictures. He's a phenomenal teacher at our high school that has been doing just great work with our elementary school students. And this picture, Tower Gardens. They were new this year. When we talk about authentic learning, this is what it looks like. When you look at the faces of these students, and obviously I think Mr. Simpson has the brightest smile down in the bottom, but he's really excited about the amount of lettuce that he's grown, it's something special. When you see students, their eyes light up because of programs that this community, this board, and the staff in this district have put in place and found a way to make work is something to be proud of. These are some of our class sizes. On the left-hand side, you're going to see the do not exceed. Starts in kindergarten, and if I work my way up to 5th grade, it starts in kindergarten at 23, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. These are do not exceed. These are not contractual. These are numbers that we feel we would like to keep our classes at this size. I will share with you for 25, 26, we are projected to be below all of those do not exceed numbers. And at this point, I'm going to invite Dr. Larson and Mrs. Lippenholtz to come up and talk a little bit about our secondary education program. This is an overview of our secondary education. Everything from enrichment to career-related programs to pre-IB, pre-AP, enriched courses, college-level courses, honor societies, SEL programs, MYP, digital fluency, Cedar Road, electives. The list goes on and on and on. Ms. Lippenholtz and Dr. Larson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Cox and Board of Education, for having us. I really appreciate that we're having the opportunity to sit with you. Apparently, as evidenced by Dr. Cox just moments ago, I say too much. So I actually have a plan for that, and I actually think that it'll serve as a good balance, right? Because one of the things we've heard a lot tonight is SEL programming, balanced programming. So when I put this presentation together, I want to thank the Board of Education and Dr. Cox's leadership team as well for creating a budget that allows for the maintenance of a remarkable program, K-12, but specifically I wanted to talk about CMS. So on this slide here, I kind of broke up my presentation this evening into two slides. One slide about the instructional component of CMS, but the other slide that kind of speaks to what Mr. Russo was talking about, SEL and life and learning at CMS. But throughout the evening tonight, we've heard a lot from adults. So really what I would like to do is just give a quick snapshot about this and then allow the community, allow the Board of Ed to hear what our children have to say about life and learning at CMS. So basically at Commack Middle School, we're really grateful that we have an IB middle years program. That is a very student-centered instructional philosophy. It encourages skill development. We want our middle school students to become communicators, thinkers, risk takers, all those learner profile traits that Dr. Cox and Mr. Russo were talking about before. And what you'll see when you hear from some of our students in a couple minutes is they are embodying many of the traits that Dr. Cox was mentioning about those Commack champion traits. We are really proud of our enrichment program at CMS. 7th and 8th graders can enroll in an enrichment course. We have been very intentional in the past couple of years in trying to align the teaching and the instruction that goes on in those rooms to specific schools that now exist at Commack High School. So we're trying to get students to begin exploring their passions now so that when they make the transition over to the high school, they're able to enroll in a course of study that they have some degree of familiarity and exposure to. Dr. Cox had indicated before, 2 classes that we began this year were mock trial, and we began a sports management course. Both of those have become extremely popular and will be running next year. Next year, we intend to fold in 2 additional new courses to kind of complement our STEM program. One will be an app creators class and a project lead the way app creators and a medical detectives class, as well as a global connections cultural exploration class. What I love about the enrichment program, it's entirely student interest driven. I'm not creating the enrichment program. We have had the opportunity to meet with children, focus group with children, ask them what their interests are, what their passions are, and start to design courses that meet their interest as they presently sit. And enrollment drives the program, right? We can see from the data side of things, what are kids enrolling in and why, and can we replicate those experiences in other places? So in a nutshell, our academic program obviously includes a strong focus on the IB middle years program, a great enrichment program. We start language exploration with our 6th graders, taking language every other day, continuing right up through 8th grade. Kids will leave Commack Middle School with a credit on their transcript for their world language class. But there's also advanced programming in earth science, living environment, and algebra. So we have CMS students that are graduating, obviously, from the middle school with transcript grades, and that opens up opportunities for them as they move into the high school with Ms. Lippenholtz. So in addition to all of that, we have the entire spectrum of special ed services. Dr. Cox was just talking about the success of our special ed program, K to 12. We obviously offer a full complement of special ed services at CMS from beginning to end, and we're grateful for all the support of the Board of Education, the phenomenal teachers, and the support from Dr. Cox to build the program, the instructional program. But Mr. Russo was talking more about life and learning at CMS and social and emotional supports. And life and learning at CMS is being involved, right? And we strongly encourage that. The district supports that. It's been one of Dr. Cox's comments often is how involved do students get in the programs throughout our district. We offer 37 different extracurricular opportunities for our children, 22 different athletic opportunities for our children, and we have a whole complement of mental health professionals standing by to lend targeted support, individual support, universal supports on a tier one level, but tier 2 supports. They attend team meetings, they do group counseling, they provide push-in programming. We really try to wrap arms around children as many ways as we can, and we encourage them to become involved in extracurricular and athletic opportunities. You'll see that 6th graders are afforded intramural activities because Section 11 doesn't allow for elementary students to participate in sanctioned Section 11 sports. So really the 22 sports at the top there that you see for athletics are primarily for 7th and 8th graders. So we have a wonderful program. I'm grateful for the support of the superintendent, the leadership team, and the Board of Education for allowing us for the creation of a budget that allows for the continuance of such a robust program. But I tried to be as quick as I can, Dr. Cox, but I would love to hear what the kids have to say. So we took about 8 children, and randomly, we kind of asked them different questions. What do you enjoy about your experiences here at CMS? And they commented in about the enrichment program, extracurricular programming, and a number of other things. So, Ms. Pulliam?
I'm Connor Gill. I'm in 8th grade, and I go to Commack Middle School. My favorite sport to play is lacrosse. My teammates, they're fun to play with. Like, we've been playing since kindergarten, Commack lacrosse, so we have a good connection with each other. The bus rides there are really fun, and on the way back, we play music and we sing together, and it's really fun. Leadership, it's cool how to see how I looked up to the 8th graders last year, and now I realize how the 7th graders this year look up to us 8th graders. So the sports that they offer here that I play all 4 seasons. I play soccer, basketball, volleyball, and lacrosse. From all of that, I've learned, obviously I said leadership, and it offers you you get to have a good time with your friends after a long school day, and learn to build relationships with other people in school and make new friends.
Hi, I'm Riley Hill. I'm in 8th grade, and I go to Commack Middle School. I do the soccer program, the volleyball program, and the track program. When I was in 7th grade, I looked up to all the 8th graders when I was in 7th grade, and I used them to get more skill, and they just taught me a lot. So being in 8th grade now, I got to teach the 7th graders new skill to trust people, because now I trust all my teammates. I'm friends with all of them, and balance for me was the most thing I struggled with in 7th grade. But I've realized that in 7th grade, I would not take much time to do my schoolwork, because I thought right when I got home from soccer, volleyball, or track, I would just need a break. But now that I'm in 8th grade, I've realized that I need to make time for both my education and my sports. Navigating 2 things at once will just help with my future in general. When I go to high school, because I know high school has more work, and if I want to do the sports programs there, that I'm just gonna have to be able to manage everything.
My name's Samuel Chaw, and I'm in 8th grade in Commack Middle School. I do student government, NGHS, Trium, and chamber orchestra. Because of all these things, I've learned that time management is one of the most important skills in my life, and I'm sure that it's gonna remain relevant in my life because I want to do more than this when I go into high school, and doing this is a precursor to what I want to do in the future, and I'm gonna need to do more. So then, even in past school, time management is going to help me balance everything that I want to do in life. Chamber orchestra and student government is a well-oiled machine, where even though there's 4 groups in chamber orchestra, it's really just 4 different people working together, and student government is the backbone of our school, working on all the events that help everyone have fun and create what Commack Middle School is today.
My name is Lucas Silva. I'm in 7th grade and I go to Commack Middle School. I do student government, I do mock trial, and I do wrestling. Probably organization, because coming into 6th grade it was kind of hard. Like, I was in resource room because I couldn't really keep track of my papers, and it was just hard to keep everything in one spot, and I knew where that spot was. But in order to be like on the wrestling team or in mock trial, you need to have good grades, and in order to have good grades you need to be organized. And so being on those teams have kind of pushed me to do better organizationally and better in school, because if you don't do better in school then you can't be on the teams. I want to be an attorney when I'm older, and so mock trial is giving me the skills that I need to have to be an attorney. And like, it's taught me how to be quick on my feet when I'm under pressure in a situation. It's taught me how to do proper research for cases, and it's taught me how to, speak up. And then with wrestling, it's not only made me stronger physically, but it's also helped my brain, because like I said, you need to have good organization and good grades in order to stay on the team. You need to be doing well in school. All my teachers are like awesome. Like, my ELA teacher, she's kind of just like my friend, honestly. Like, she's so nice, and everybody's always coming up to me asking me about like my grandma, my uncle, and everything. And so it's nice because like, instead of just having teachers at the school and like principals and like guidance counselors and stuff like that, it's also kind of like a family because of how involved like my family is in the school. So it's also kind of like having a family.
My name is Josh Lewin, and I'm in 8th grade and I go to Commack Middle School. What I love about the enrichment program is that there's just so much to offer, and every kid has something to do that they love. I think I just learn like what I'm interested in and what I like and what I don't like. Because if I didn't take these classes, you wouldn't know what you like and don't like. I like that I could just have a class that I have something that I enjoy and just be free and like be comfortable talking about stuff. Sports management is something I wanted to do in the future. So I saw it and I'm like, oh, that's like a great program. So it shows that whatever you have an interest, they will have in that program.
I'm Julia Yandoli. I'm in 7th grade and I go to Commack Middle School. My favorite part about theater is getting to do it with my friends, because since we already have so much chemistry together, it's fun to like do different scenes because we get to like laugh about it, and I also get to teach them stuff about like acting and stuff, and it's really fun. It helps me learn how to like come out of my shell and like not really care what anyone else thinks and just go for it, and it doesn't really matter if you do it right or wrong, or like you forget something, but like you tried and you did it. It's helping me practice speaking more like in front of other people, and like practice to like not like stutter or like be confident with what I'm saying.
Hi, I'm Kai Carroll. I'm in 8th grade and I go to Commack Middle School. My favorite part about being an art student is really that I can express emotions in the way I draw and the way I do things on the computer. I could just draw however I feel, and it's really loose, so you can be very creative with what you make, and it's just a really loose and free way. And me and my friend, we just love to hang out, show each other our drawings in that class, and it's really just a fun class. It's digital and traditional, so I do prefer traditional art, but I did take digital art this year, so it had me experience a new way of art that I didn't know that I could actually excel in, and it was really fun, and I love digital art and traditional art. A lot of people say that they can't draw stick persons, but really a lot of people actually have talent, they just need to experience it first. Through art, I can learn that I can be a lot of different people just by showing my art, and I could be a person to someone by inspiring them to be an artist themselves.
Hi, my name is Sophia Lopes. I'm in 8th grade and I go to Commack Middle School. I'm in band and chorus, but there's also like select groups for each. Like, I'm in select band and I'm also in treble singers and select chorus. It's definitely given me a lot more confidence. Like, in 6th grade, I was not in any of the select groups, but after I kind of pushed myself to get out of my comfort zone, I've just kind of broken out of my shell and am now like really confident in music. there really is something for everyone here, and you don't have to follow what your friends are doing. You can go and do what you want to do, and you can always find people because everyone is so nice.
So when we talk about the learner profile traits and we talk about, are we creating students that are balanced, caring, thinkers, communicators, risk takers? Are they reflective? I simply asked those students, I grabbed 8 children and said, listen, would you be able to comment in on your experiences as an athlete, or your experiences as participating in clubs, your experiences in art or music? That was the only prompt they were given. So if there was nothing doctored there, I want to thank Mr. Malamud and Ms. Pulliam, who were sitting there when we were recording this. These kids had way more to share. The original cut to that was about 30 minutes. We tried to get it down to 8. So we're sorry that it was a little long, but those kids were very excited and proud to talk about their experiences. So I know Ms. Newman always says budget season is the best, most exciting time of the year, but sitting with those kids and making that video with those learners was far more exciting than, well, for me anyway, not from a business standpoint, but for me, very, very exciting and rewarding. So if there are any questions from the Board of Ed, I'd love to.
We'll wait till the end and then we'll ask questions. Thank you, Dr. Larson.
Yeah, you have a microphone right there, literally right there. What?
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the high school and the entire administrative team at the high school, we just really wanted to thank Dr. Cox, the Board of Education, and really the entire community for allowing us to do everything that we do every day at Commack High School, to be able to build and provide programming to really fulfill and maintain our vision of preparing our students to make the best decision for their future. We've really done this by maintaining and building college and career programs for all of our students at Commack High School. A lot of you know that we've had so many visits from other districts, even visits from colleges, to hear about the programs that we have available. And every time a school comes to visit, they always ask, what does it feel like to be principal of this building? And I say to them, I pinch myself every single day that I come to work. As most of you know, I am a graduate of Commack High School, and I've always been so proud to be a member of the Commack community from the time that I was born here. But I couldn't be more proud to be the principal of Commack High School now, to know everything that we are doing and that you have helped us and allow us to do every single day to help all of our learners succeed and to really prepare them for their future. This year, our theme is We Are CHS, Exploration and Discovery Through Collaboration. And we really are helping our students explore and discover their interests, their strengths, and their passions, as I said before, to make the best decisions for their future. It feels like yesterday, but way back in January, we had curriculum night for our incoming ninth grade students, their current 8th graders, and we tell them this, and we tell them they're going to explore and continue their interests and their passions that they probably did in their enrichment classes and some of their courses in 8th grade, and we say that we are going to prepare them. We're going to start talking about college and career, and I think they look at me like I'm crazy, and I say to them, this is the same kid that probably has dirty socks in the middle of their bedroom, but I promise you that once they reach by 10th grade, by 11th grade, you're going to see a different child. And we're going to be with them every step of the way on their journey in order to help them do that. And how do we help them do that? We really help them to do that by making meaning of their learning. We talk a lot about how students need to connect, and Dr. Cox said it before, connect with their teachers, connect with the staff, and build those relationships. But they also need to build the relationships and connect with what they're learning. That is so important. So one of the ways they do it, there's really 3 parts of making meaning to what they're learning, and one of it is relevant coursework. The second part is really that hands-on, authentic learning experiences, whether it's through field trips, vocational technical training, or it may be through internships. And the third, which is amazing and really I think sets us apart from other schools, is the real life spaces and experiences that we have created in our high school, which has been truly amazing to see. We're very lucky that next year we're going to be maintaining our coursework that we have at the high school. We worked for the past couple of years with our departments and with our department directors as well as our teachers to make sure that all of our coursework is up to date. And we use the term a lot in education about 21st century skills. And actually, a lot of us just went to a workshop in Texas. And one of the keynotes said, well, we keep talking about 21st century skills, but the 21st century started 25 years ago, which is kind of funny. And ever since then, I'm like, okay, we have to stop using 21st century skills, but we have to think about what skills do our students need. So a lot of what we have talked about and what we're going to continue to explore is having conversations with people in career fields right now, having conversations with people in colleges, professors. What are the skills that our students need? And we're going to continue to embed those in the coursework. And if the courses are not challenging our students, if the courseworks don't contain those skills and concepts, maybe they need to be revised. One particular one that I'm going to talk about in a moment was revised, and we're bringing in a brand new course now for next year because it was a little outdated, and we don't want to have those courses anymore. Again, it's meeting our kids where they are now based on their interests, based on their strengths. So we're so excited to be able to maintain all of our courses based on student interests. As you can see, it runs a gamut in all of our different areas. And we have 65 college level courses that we will be offering, as Dr. Cox shared before, to all of our students have access to that. And we have 4 new courses that are coming next year. Constitutional law will be coming next year. Discovering Educational Technologies is a very different course that was recommended by our technology department. This is a mechanical engineering course that we've never had before. We have a whole bunch of PLTW, Project Lead the Way courses and engineering courses, but this is a very different course than we've never had before. These are students that may not go to Wilson Tech for vocational training, and courses, students that the PLTW course may be a little bit too difficult for them because it contains too much math and science. So this is definitely a popular course for our students. The course that I told you that needed a little revamp, we have college presentational skills and speaking. This is going to be presentational skills course that actually is going to be a dual enrolled course by Syracuse University. And again, not to use the term 21st century skills, but it's all communication skills. So it's not just going to focus on public speaking. It's going to focus on all different type of presentational speaking. So just like I'm doing here, or podcasts, or recordings, or any type of different types of presentational skills that our students are going to need to enter, whether it's into the workforce or enter into college. And finally, of course, introduction to Bloomberg Corporate Finance, which has been the one elective that has definitely bloomed significantly, and I'm going to talk about that more in a moment. The second part of making meaning of their learning is really the hands-on experiences. 106 of our students currently go to Wilson Tech. That means that they spend half their day, whether it's in the morning or the afternoon, and they go to Wilson Tech on a variety of different campuses throughout Suffolk County. And as you can see, they go from anywhere from culinary arts to HVAC. We have students in the nursing assisting program to hospitality, personal training, carpentry, drone technology. It's really amazing. We had Regents Tillis visit us, and one of our own students is getting his pilot license and learning how to fly a plane, and he is in the Wilson Tech program. So it's really incredible and amazing what our students do. A lot of our students graduate from Commack High School, and they are part of a Wilson Tech program. They can't start till 11th grade, but a lot of them are part of a 2-year program, and they are graduating from Commack High School already with a job. So that's absolutely incredible. Some of them are part of a union, and that's part of the Wilson Tech training as well. And it's really incredible training and opportunities for our students. We're very lucky to have extensive internship opportunities, something that other school districts are definitely jealous of as well. We currently have 64 students that are engaging in internships. Some of them are during the day. Some of them are after school. Some of them are even on the weekends. They range, as you can see, from accounting to kids who are working in a pharmacy to sports marketing, law firms, even people working with some local legislatures. We're very lucky that we have an education internship within our own school district, where currently we have 22 students that go to our own elementary buildings. Last year, we actually had a student that wanted to teach Spanish, and she was able to go to the middle school and intern with a middle school Spanish teacher. So really, the possibilities are endless. We're really lucky to have somebody that works with us from BOCES, but really works with us in Commack, that works with us with Wilson Tech and our internships, and really just providing these amazing opportunities for our students. Our students at Huntington Hospital, they watch live births. They watch just incredible opportunities for our kids to realize, is this something I really want to do? And maybe it's something they don't want to do before they leave high school, before they enter into college and leave high school. The third part of making meaning of their learning is really, to us, the most unique. It really does, as I said, set us apart from other schools. And what it is we can have the most amount of coursework, which I think we do, if you take a look at our course catalog, and we can have these experiences where we take our kids on incredible field trips. But you're learning so much in the classroom, but really it's the transfer of knowledge and taking it in and applying it into a real world space where you're really understanding and acquiring this deep learning and this deep knowledge. And so it really started with our mock courtroom that opened, as most of you know, last September. And these are some pictures of it. If you had the opportunity to come to our high school, it's absolutely beautiful and incredible. It takes your breath away when you walk inside of it. We have an award-winning mock trial team that's currently in the middle of their competition season. I feel like they're traveling every single day because they keep winning the competition. We also have some business courses, citizen law that uses it, business and personal law. Actually, Dr. Cox and I observed them doing their first trial. It was actually very funny because they had no idea what they were doing. But if you go now and see them, they're incredible. They know exactly what they're doing. Everybody knows their role. And it's really incredible to see their growth. But to see them do it here and not in a classroom. So instead of putting the desks up and trying to mock what it would look like, now we actually have a courtroom that people have said is nicer than any Suffolk courtroom that you can actually go into. Ms. Hermer, you agree? It is. Yes. And we also have even English classes. So we use this as a lab. So anybody can use that space. English classes go during, they use 12 Angry Men. There's a trial scene in it, To Kill a Mockingbird. They use that as well. So our constitutional law class will also use this next year as well. Our Bloomberg lab, our incredible, beautiful Bloomberg lab that everybody walks past and I just stare at, I think, every single time I walk past the Bloomberg lab that opened in September, is just really an incredible space for our students. It is a 3-year plan in which we are rolling out to really get our students financially fluent. We start with this year, in which our students are visiting it in both 9th and 12th grade. Our 9th graders do have a course called Career and Financial Management, in which they do learn some basic financial literacy basics. But we take it a step further when they visit the Bloomberg lab, in which they learn just about the terminal. It kind of gets them a little excited about what's to come, what they can learn about should they want to engage in a little bit further and deepen their knowledge about the exploration of Bloomberg Finance. In 12th grade this year, in order for our students to be prepared, in order for them to enter the real world, they do engage in financial literacy in their economics classes. So that was already happening, all right? It's not something new. However, again, deepening their knowledge, deepening their understanding. We had mock stock market games happening, and they were taking a look at the stock market. But now, think about it. They are on the same terminals that we visited Bloomberg headquarters in New York City that the traders were on. And this is exactly what they looked like when we visited Bloomberg headquarters 2 years ago. And what they're doing is they're engaging in a few-week-long project in which they're actually building their own portfolio. They're investing money, and then they actually have to present some of the challenges they found, as well as what they found to be the most successful, and they are learning an incredible amount. And then that really is bringing us into year 2. We'll continue with the push-ins in 9th and 12th grade. And then in addition to that, as I said before, we have our introduction to Bloomberg Corporate Finance, which is an elective. And year 3, we'll have both of those things. And then our third is an advanced Bloomberg course that we're going to be offering, because Bloomberg for Education offers certificates that our students can graduate with. One is Bloomberg Market Concepts, and the other one is Bloomberg Fundamentals of Finance. So they're going to actually graduate by taking this course. That will be not for until the 26th, 27th, so I'll come back here and talk about it next year. But it is a 3-year really sequence of how to engage our students in finance and getting them financially fluent. We're really excited about another space that's going to be coming in our high school that we are so lucky to have the facilities department so talented in order to create. I don't even know if half the high school knows this is actually happening. But if you take a look at the picture actually to the right, that's not what the room looked like about a month ago. It actually had old stoves and refrigerators that didn't really work anymore, and we were utilizing it as a classroom, and it really wasn't efficient. So our idea was, why don't we create some kind of living lab? We haven't named it yet, but some kind of living lab that we can utilize to really work with all of our students on real world living. So the space to the right, if you can see, all of those are walls that were built. Those are actually going to become 2 bedrooms and a bathroom and a living space. There's going to be carpeting, there's going to be furniture. And then the picture to the left is currently a kitchen that's going to be totally gutted and remodeled. And we're going to have a kitchen area, we're going to have a laundry area, and other living space and dining space over there. This space is going to be used for our life skills program, as well as an idea for we do senior send-off workshops with our seniors at the end of the year. So it's an idea for them to also visit it in small groups to learn a little bit about dorm life living, as well as apartment living, and living on their own. So those are just some ideas of how to use this real life living lab. We're not going to name it. So when we reveal the space in September, we're going to do a contest with our students and their families so that they can name this space. So we're really, really excited for that. So the schools of study. So a little funny story. So if you've come into the high school, you'll see that we have branded some of our hallways, and we have the School of Law, the School of Business, School of Engineering and Fine Arts, and we started to use these terms, the schools of study, and you've been hearing about it, but we really haven't introduced it to our students yet. We're gradually introducing it to our 10th graders. Well, we had hallway night. If you saw any of our social media, we had hallway night last night, and then this morning, the administrators all judged the hallways. Well, every hallway had something about the schools of in it. So they're holding on to something. They're learning something because the schools of are definitely something that they are gravitating to. They're talking about. Our 10th graders have been engaging in lessons on career exploration. So part of their hallway actually had something about meeting at a cafe and talking about career cafe and career exploration and Naviance, because we've been doing work with them on that. So it's catching on, if anything. So that just shows that we're doing something and we're doing something right. And really providing these authentic learning experiences for our students. And that's what these schools of really are. They're not just pretty wall space, even though they are. They really are introducing these real life spaces for our students and engaging them in their thinking about what they want for their future. So the schools of are going to be introduced soon to our current 10th graders. Right now, what we're working on with our 10th graders is really continuing the discussion of career interests and their own interests and strength that actually they started in 7th grade. So Naviance is a program that we use starting in 6th and 7th grade in family and consumer science with their counselors in order for them to do career interests and their own exploration of interests. And then we continue it through their career and financial management class in 9th grade. And then we tapped into that just recently, actually last week with them to start exploring their personality traits, what their career interest inventory on Naviance said in order to start thinking about what possible career they want to enter in when they graduate from high school. These schools, sophomores will choose in May. Every single sophomore will choose a school of. The school of is not an academic program. So students will still have their academic program. They will still take every single course that they would like to take. The chance that they are probably going to enroll in the School of Law and probably taking a law class is probably very high. However, they might not be able to fit it in their schedule because maybe they have other courses that they want to take or they have other requirements that they need to take. So they don't have to, but the chance of them taking that course is very high. Engaging and being enrolled in the School of is really more of an experience for them. So what we did was we hired, or they really are teachers, and we have advisors for each of the schools of, and they're going to be working with us in order to create assemblies and programs throughout the school year for who are our current sophomores, who will be juniors next year. And we're going to be bringing in assemblies with people currently in the career field. So let's take, for example, the School of Medicine. We may bring in home health aides. We may bring in people, OTs and PTs. We may bring in social workers, doctors, nurses, PAs, and people from a whole spectrum that are dealing with health sciences and medicine for our students to learn what is a career like, what are the possible careers in medicine and health sciences. We may bring in alumni that are currently in the field or alumni currently in school that is pursuing that career path in order to do a Q&A. We talked about bringing in people in the School of Vocational and Technical Skills, bringing in people from unions and talking about what it's like to be in a union in that particular field. We may bring in college reps in order to talk about what it's like to enter in and what it means to get into law school or to get right into the School of Business. We also have talked about fieldwork experiences as well. So we're really excited in order for every single student to be part of this school of study because we're going to be able to set them up for success because it is going to go from everything from our work-based learning all the way up to our students who may be in our IB career pathway or IB diploma program. So it really is for every single student. And again, it's starting with our current 10th graders for their 11th and 12th grade year. And we're really excited to be able to offer this opportunity and really complete, it's now not a triangle, I don't even know what it is now, but really to create these opportunities for our students and really thanking you for continuing to support us, allowing us to allowing the staff to explore and discover, to bring these opportunities for our students. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lippenholtz. So if you go back just one slide.
Yeah, that one?
Nope.
Nope, that one?
That one. So that completes our budget workshop number 1. We will have an opportunity for the board to ask any questions. Now on March 27th, we will be conducting our second budget workshop, which will include facilities, security, transportation, technology, staffing, et cetera. So we look forward to being able to present to the board and the community again at the end of this month. At this point, I'm going to open it up to the board to ask any questions about budget workshop number 1.
Question for Mrs. Lippenholtz. Great, the school studies is great. Like I talked, I wish my kids were 10 years ago, but that's okay. We all have the opportunities now. So I guess one of the questions I have is a parent and how they get to understand what that is. I guess you ask a 14, 15-year-old, "Would you learn?" Like they go, "It's a school." So how are the parents going to get to understand more about the schools? I mean, and experience what you've been telling them.
Yeah, so we're going to be creating a couple of things. So we're going to do infographics work really well, right, to explain it rather than an email or some type of written explanation. We're also going to be creating a video that we're going to be sending out to parents to be able to explain it.
Perfect. And then Dr. Larson, I guess over all the years of seeing all the different electives that the kids have, how do you judge whether an elective is being successful, not just by enrollment? Is there what other metrics do you use to say this elective is going well and whether or not I have to change it?
Thank you for that question. My team's probably laughing a little bit because that's exactly the conversation we've been having about our enrichment program at CMS. When we focus group with the kids, and this speaks directly to what Dr. Cox said before, the number one factor that drives kids into the courses, or they scream that they love the courses the most, is the teachers, right? Mm-hmm. So we see that we obviously look at the enrollment. We look at courses that don't have much enrollment, right? And then we're seeing like some classes that are disproportionately higher than others. So we're starting to unpack presently what's happening here. Is it just purely the popularity of the course title? Is it the popularity of the teacher? Right. Is it the authenticity of the assessment? And how do we start tailoring the program to spread the wealth a little bit further? But really the goal that we have as a team and what we'll be working toward over the next couple of years is trying to intentionally create conditions where children are kind of these learners are working through different pathways. We want, ideally, I would love to give kids increased exposure to more pathways rather than fewer pathways, right? So if there was ways to kind of allow kids choice, but choice within the humanities or choice within the medical sciences or choice within sciences, that's something that we're trying to work toward, because as is presently constituted, you can have an enrichment grade in 7th and 8th grade, one across the entire year because it's 20 weeks every other day. But can we tweak that? Can we change that? Can we start survey and cursory overview for children in more topics rather than fewer, which they're limited to right now? So we're working. That's one of the projects we're exploring.
Great. Thank you both.
Sorry. Thank you for all of that. My kids are really excited for middle school, so buckle up because they want to do everything. So for the like enrichment and the advanced programming, is that open to all students? Like I know athletics is really, the teams are 7th and 8th, but are these other?
Enrichment is for 7th and 8th grade. And then 7th and 8th grade students, there's
for
different
enrichment too. Okay.
For enrichment, yeah. There's different aspects of every child's program, right? In 6th grade, there's the beginning of world language exploration every other day. There's also a double period ELA. In 7th grade, you also have an every other day lab. And then there's all sorts of other related services that play in, whether you're a music student, a language exempt student, if you have pull-out services, OT, PT. Every student's profile is different, right? So depending on what a child's program is, there are some limitations to the enrichment program, but it all depends on the degree of services necessary. But we also have complementary courses for students, and we try our best to get as many students seated in an enrichment course as possible.
Okay.
That's the objective.
Got it. And
there's been some very careful scheduling that's gone on to try to increase seating of all students in enrichment courses. Okay. But unique
that's
program.
really like where all students thrive, right? They're super interested. It's where their focus is. So the more students you can get in there, the better. Right?
And because of the unique nature of our classified students, these are better suited for CSE discussion and what programs will look like. I can't broadly say this profile fits each individual learner, because the profile of each child and the level of services required for each child is vastly different, right? And there's only so much time in a given school day. So that's why we have the CSEs, to determine like what is the level of need, what is the level of service, and where can we fit things. But we've gotten creative in a couple different areas to try to get as many kids in as we can.
Great, awesome, thank you. Ms. Lippenholtz. I love that you're connecting with people who are currently in the fields, because things are changing so rapidly all the time in technology. I'm in technology, and I mean, it's day to day. I log on to something and there's like, oh, it's new. And it's every day, so it's really important to keep up. For the presentational class, are you also going to be having that connect to digital presentation and not just speaking?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. So Syracuse University, it's done by, so it's a scripted curriculum from Syracuse, but yeah, the reason why we chose it was because it's all presentational skills. So it's digital, it's podcast, it's public speaking. You know, our old public speaking course, I say it's like how to make a bologna sandwich, so I wanted it to really be able to honestly fit into every school, right? And every pathway, because no matter what you do, you have to be able to present. You need to be able to communicate. And those communication skills are so important. And that's what the Syracuse University course was able to do. So Mr. Swatner, Director of Humanities, and I did a lot of, it actually took us over a year to get that course. There was a waiting list for it. So we're really, really excited and happy for that course.
All right. Hello, Dr. Larson. How are you tonight? Very good, thank you. Just curious to follow up on some of the questions that were asked earlier tonight. In regards to the percentage, how many percentage of students would you say are able to take enrichment courses? I completely understand the programmatic piece of it, and obviously scheduling is a nightmare, but we are in budget season, so I'm just curious if there's any ways creatively that, if we're not providing those enrichment opportunities for students, that we can look for some creative ways to do so.
I don't have the percentage off the top of my head. I apologize. It's
no,
not something
I wouldn't expect you
with.
to.
I'll
just
happily
maybe
share it with Dr.
yes.
Cox, or I could share it directly with you. We'll look at it when we get back to the building tomorrow. Ms. Martin made a note of that, I'm sure, so we'll be looking at that. So to your question, though, is, I guess, is there any students that aren't able to get into enrichment courses? Yes, it happens, right? There's a whole host of services that children could need, right? But we have options in the 0, we have options in the 10th period, we have options for lunch chorus, we have options for language exemptions. It does create, but we also have students with tremendous needs, whether it's a whole host of services, add in reading services, add in resource room and skill services, add in other pull-out services that might be necessary. But like I said, we've offered classes in 0, we've offered classes in the 10, we've offered lunch choruses so that children can maintain enrollment in and connection to their music. I don't have the actual number off the top of my head, but we can look to get to that number.
So if required, do we have a 0 period enrichment class at this time?
Presently, that's not something that is planned for.
Okay. Could we look into, maybe Mrs. Newman, what the financial cost of that would be? Sure. Thank you. And then we're good? Okay, thank you. My next question from Mrs. Newman is in regards to, obviously we've been touting our different schools and the great work that's going on in creating those pathways. But I was just curious, financial impact-wise, what does that look like? We're in the middle of budget season. We're at a budget workshop, so as we continue to come up with these courses and the lovely work that's being done in creating these spaces, how much does that impact our budget generally?
I can also speak to that, Mrs. Newman, when you.
Sure, I think one of the beauty items for us, I think I just shut it off, is that as we move to these specialized spaces, we're not necessarily adding additional costs because the seats are basically the same. Now, certainly with the Bloomberg Lab, there were some upfront costs involved, but after that, we're maintaining the seat costs.
Right, and just in terms of creating the schools it has been a shift in language. So by shifting the language, it has changed the way that students think about school. The other piece is courses run based on student enrollment. And so in some cases, when you create like a Bloomberg Finance corporate investments, you may find that 120 or 140, I don't know what the enrollment is up to this point, but it's pretty close to that, are taking that, which means they're not taking something else. So the FTEs switch. The FTEs don't necessarily increase or decrease, but they move from possibly one department to another department.
Understand it, thank you. Along those lines too, Mrs. Lippenholtz, you talked about how there's going to be advisors for each that are current teachers. Does that affect us at all in terms of FTEs or anything, Mr. Oshrin?
Not at this point, but I will obviously sit down with Mrs. Lippenholtz and see exactly how she plans to understand that.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, if there's any questions from the public on budget workshop number 1, feel free to come up to the mic. Thank you again, Mrs. Lippenholtz and Dr. Larson.
Thank you very much.
Again,
folks.
if there's no comments, the next workshop is on March 27th, at the end of this month. So thank you, everyone. Have a great night.